Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Good evening, greenhorns and fellow whatever Joe says alike. Welcome to the Road to Wrestling School, the HOV to the HOP. HOP standing for the Neil Superior House of Pain Pro Wrestling Training Center in beautiful downtown Hagerstown, Maryland. My name is Hamish Stewart. In the car with me is no one. So I'm rocking this podcast solo. So it's less of an HOV and more of just OV to the HOP. It is 2 days before the Lord of the Rings Tournament. It is Thursday. Thursday night matches go on at the House of Pain. I'm going up. Haven't been up in a little bit. Because of Renaissance Festival has been taking up most of my time. That's where Joe Grizz is, and that's where Dash Rippington is. They are also at the Renaissance Festival, or they're not there now, but it's been taking up primarily a lot of their time, and they can't make it up here. But I want to make sure that I knock the ring rust off and keep focused and keep sharp for this Saturday, which will be one heck of a show. This podcast will air, no doubt, well after Lord of the Rings happens. So there you go. But this is quite a difficult podcast to do while driving on my own. I won't bore everybody with a 15-minute monologue on fitness. I will let you know that a relay team that I captained today was 6th out of 50 teams in their heat in the NIH, National Institutes of Health relay. I'm very proud of that. Our team members, if you broke it down, if you aggregated their entire time and then divided it between each person, we ran a half mile. There's 5 members. You run a half mile split. Each one of our half mile splits were, if you averaged it out, 3 minutes and 16 seconds apiece. So kudos to my team. All 4 of them who were on the team will never listen to this podcast, but kudos to them. I am getting very close to my personal goal of seeing abdominals, at least well-defined abdominal cage and abdominal region. I am getting very close. I'm within a whisper away of being able to see some definition down there, and I'm very happy about that. So I'll continue on my quest for abs, and maybe I'll get abs for Christmas. Yay to me. I will continue on the 1,800 calories and the physical fitness regime that I'm on, thanks to John Rambo, our illustrious trainer, and with a little added flavor from Wildman Robbie Page. Big shout out to the Wildman there. The Wildman workout is the Wildman workout. I will let you know, fellow trainees, if you are looking for a good thing to spice up your workout, go ahead and take the Wildman Workout Challenge. It's intense and it's tough. There's no doubt about it. You really got to want it to do the Wildman workout. You really got to want it to keep up with the Rambo workout. That's a lot of high rep stuff. Very draining. A lot of time underweight, and it's tough. But kudos to that. So now the shout outs out of the way. I'm going to launch into the topic that I'd like to talk about on my own, which is sincerely, why do I do this? And why am I drawn to this? My wife, who is my rock and everything to me, asked me this very question just the other day. Why do I do this? It's because honestly, 15 years ago, I took a run at this at Bone Breakers Training Center, and wasn't so good. But this time, I think I have the mental fortitude and the physical fortitude to keep up with it. I will not sugarcoat it. Someone asked me today if, how would you train to become a pro wrestler? What kind of training regime would you do? Outside of like sort of body image, like how you want your body to look, what I suggested was you play midfield in an outdoor soccer league to get your cardio up, and you swim, and you lift weights in some form or fashion. You got to have the strength, you got to have the stamina, and more specifically, the stamina and the cardiovascular stuff is more almost of a sprinter, because you're not running, like when I first restarted this, I was like, I was running 10-mile races, and I was like, well, this would be no problem. But you go in and you get winded like what? Because you're running sprints. You're sprinting here, you're sprinting there. Boom, you're down. Boom, you're back up. So, a lot of burpee action, a lot of that kind of stuff kind of get you ready. But I digress. So why do I sincerely do this? Why do I leave my family once a week to go up and train for something that, in reality, I will never achieve a large-scale success at because of my age and the way that the business is. Now, I think a thing to mention is that Grizz and I were contacted by SWA to do 2 shows, one in November and one in December, and we're still working out the details of that. See if we can get booked on those shows and see if that works out with our schedules, and if that works out in terms of training and in terms of keeping up the pace of training that we're doing. Also, we're doing the Lord of the Rings show. Rambo tagged us in a post in which he has contacts in the Portland area. He used to do a lot of wrestling in the Portland territory, the Pacific Northwest territory, and specifically mentioned Grizz and I and said, hey, you guys, if you want to go up there, I got contacts, let me know if you've got time or you can make it up there. So, if I was so inclined, or if I had the run of it to do it, and not the run of it, if I had the motivation to do it, I certainly could probably start wrestling pretty regularly every other weekend, every weekend, if I really, really pushed and really started promoting myself. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I would be lying to everyone and myself if I said I did not want that. I love professional wrestling. Again, my wife said, why are you drawn to this? There are 3 prongs of it, I think, that really make it attractive for a guy like me. The first prong is the athleticism of it. I have changed myself into a more athletic person, and the ability to go, the term to go in wrestling, like to be able to continually put on a good show, continually wrestle, continually get up, move, make those big moves, is there inside of me, and I like the athletic aspect of it. 2, I'm a performer at heart. I will readily admit this. If I could sing, dance, or act, I would not be letting large men turn me upside down and drop me on my back. If I could do those 3 things, I would be somewhere else singing, dancing, and or acting. I would be doing that. The same thing at the Renaissance Festival. If I could sing, dance, or act, I wouldn't let large men swing swords at my face. But we all have our place. I have a level of talent that takes me places and allows me to do things. I would be lying if I said I didn't have some level of talent at it. But I also would be lying if I said I'm the best out there in terms of singing, dancing, and acting. I do have a proficiency for staged violence and the ability to sell and create staged violence. So, just like in economics, you get paid for what you're good at, and then you do what you love. If you love what you're good at, that's the sweet spot. I very much like performing. I very much love the atmosphere of being in front of an audience, of being able to create that reality, that aspect, tell those stories, and the athleticism and the performance aspect of it is the two prongs. The third prong being that it's exciting. You never know what's going to happen, and that's good and bad. I mean, like, you never know if you're, most cases, like I'm driving up tonight, I had no idea who I'm matching up against. I could match up against no one. I could be put in a three-way, I could be put in a four-way, I could be put in a tag match, I could be put in a singles match. I just don't know. And that's exciting. And it's also terrifying. But it's also exciting. So those are the three things: athleticism, the performance aspect, and it's exciting. Those are the three things that draw me to it. There are other things that are, I would say, sort of tertiary, secondary or tertiary reasons that are below that tier. I mean, just the spectacle alone of wrestling, the willing suspension of disbelief when you walk into an arena, or when you walk in there, that, like, you're gonna stage this very neat, very highly structured soap opera, and you're gonna tell these neat stories is fun, and it's very cool. It's also difficult, which is something that makes people do things. If it's easy, everybody would do it. It's difficult, so it's something that I like to do, because not everybody can do it well. And I'm not saying I'm the best at it. I'm also not the worst at it, though. So, in the whole grand scheme of things, I'm green, but I ain't half bad for a heel. So that's the reason that draws me away from my family every Thursday night or every Monday night, if I go up on Mondays to brush up on the skills aspect of it. I love my family dearly. They are the world to me, and if any member of my family, being my wife or my child, were to say, "Hey, I want you to stay home, I want you to be here," they are always top priority to me, and shall always remain top priority to me. And if one of them were to say, "Look, I'm done, I don't want this to happen anymore," it wouldn't happen again. We just passed a guy who, it looked like he was, pinching out a grumper on the side of the road, but he was sitting on a bucket. Looks like he broke down, but he was sitting on a bucket, looking like he was, dropping a deuce. Anyway, but back to where I was at. They're everything to me. They will be there when I am old. At least I would hope they will be. But so they're number one, and I will always keep that present in my mind. So off of this love fest and back on to pro wrestling and some of the love spheres and reasons you do it. I really can't give much advice to other people other than to say, if you are not wholehearted into this, don't do it. I've seen a ton of guys come in. They take 3 or 4 training classes, they stick around for a month or so, and then they flake out. We see it all the time because it's physically demanding, and it's tough. It's a sharp learning curve, and you have to have thick skin, figuratively and I would say literally, but I don't think you literally need thick skin. You just need a high pain threshold to do it. So we see people wash out all the time, but you got to have that drive. If you're somebody who's not athletic, but has if you don't have that athleticism and you don't have that high threshold for pain, you've got to love it. You've got to want to come out and do it, because it ain't easy, and it's not for the faint of heart. And it's not something that you can just kind of stumble on into if you want to make a real run at it, or at least make a run at, like, and I'll say for my aspect of it, make a run of it to where you're proud of what you've done. I'm exercising a demon by doing this, and driving up here on my own is a part of that as well. I wouldn't. I'm a grown man, so I can admit when I'm scared or admit when I failed or any of those things. And quite frankly, sometimes you get scared coming up. You don't want to suck. You don't want to let your partner down, and you don't want to look like crap, especially before a big match or a big show we're going to do. Quite possibly the way that my performances tonight could alter how I do in the tournament. Now, I'll freely admit I will be in what I call the group of death for the tournament, and that group of death is not a derogatory term. That is like in soccer or football for the rest of the world. Soccer for the United States. When they pick the pools of teams for the World Cup, so there's normally 8 pools. There's 4 teams per pool. Typically, there's one pool of teams that are really good. There are like 4 really good teams, and it's typically called the group of death. I'm tooting my own horn to say that I am a member of the group of death, thinking that I embody like a really good team in this 4-person mashup of good wrestlers. I'm more, I'm more of the Yugoslavia to the England, Italy, France, or England, Germany, France teams in this group of death. Meaning that there's no, everybody looks at Yugoslavia and goes, well, they're glad they made it in the tournament, but enjoy playing 4 games and then sitting the rest of it out. So I am matched up against LA Star, a perennial champion in the NWL, a federation in which John Rambo created. And in the ring beside me will be Gusten Uberstud and John Rambo himself, our illustrious trainer. So the tournament goes as such. 2 matches start simultaneously. Your match can be you can interfere in your other opponent, the match that's next to you, or you can just wrestle out your match, whatever. If you win and the other match is still going, then you hop into the other ring and it becomes a 3-way. And then you guys wrestle till there's a winner. So you can see Mr. Green Jeans here, Mr. hashtag Hamish Stewart, wrestling in a group with Gusten Uberstud, who won this tournament several years ago. and is a fine indie wrestler and a very, very well-known talent. John Rambo, who is hands down a legitimate badass and a threat to the entire tournament. If you are handicapping this thing, I don't think you would be foolish to put your money on him to go all the way, or at least make it super deep in the tournament. LA Star, who's a champion of NWL and always ready for a tough fight. And then hashtag Hamish Stewart, who the one thing he's got going for him is that this boy is tougher than a $2 steak, and he is always up for a good fight. So, group of death sitting there, waiting for everybody to do it. So nice, and they'll be marching me past hungry dogs with T-bone steak shorts on Saturday. But hey, baby, I'm always, as I say at home, I ain't never done anything the easy way. I've always done it the hard way. So this ain't nothing new to me. Bring it on. I started recording about 10 minutes into the drive, so I apologize. This podcast will be cut short. If I'm not completely dead or blown up at the end of the night, maybe I'll continue and let everybody know how it went. But right now I'm signing off. This is hashtag Hamish Stewart saying goodnight, keep the faith, whatever Joe says, and I'll see you down the road and in the ring. That is a good ending. That ending sounds good. I like that.